I'm gonna hit record here. Yes.
When will this like group, when will it be? Like when will we come together?
Yes, we will be talking about that. So we meet twice a month. One, I'm running a series of conversations on single-use plastic that mostly happen this first Tuesday of the month at Bosler Library in Carlisle. And there's a different topic every month. And then the third Monday of the month. A few of those conversations, because of voting, aren't on the Tuesdays, but otherwise they're there. And then most of the Mondays, unless once again, there's something in my life or something that derails that, and they're at 6. The conversations are at 6 and the working meetings are the Mondays, and they're on at 6:30, and they're via Zoom, both of them, and in person both. So you can choose what's best for you. Yes, go ahead.
Would you be able to speak a little bit louder, please?
I sure can. There you go. Is there, oh, because of the movie. Sure. I didn't want to make you guys feel like you were being shouted at, but I guess you need it, right? All right. So, Becky kind of introduced me, so we have a lot to cover. So if you want to learn more about me at the end, we can, but I do have a little story for us in a minute. So let's just get started with everything here. All right. So we work with, I call them my big sisters organizations that you guys are familiar with, your Climate Realities, Sierra Clubs, and all sorts. And we help them do their initiatives, and then they help us do ours. They help give us support, guidance, some toolkits, some knowledge base to help us do our work too. So we're a team of people, and I'm trying to get us not to work as separate, isolated entities. If we do not come together on this and work together as a unit, we'll never overcome the billions of dollars that the petrochemical industry uses to influence our legislation, our regulating bodies, and you guys. Honestly, they spend millions to market to you greenwashed solutions. So, so my first question to you guys is, I call plastic the keystone issue. Why would I call it the keystone issue?
Well, there's plastic is everywhere in our economy, ranging from the beginnings of plastic in the petrochemical industry to so much of what we buy, not only drinks, but appliances. These chairs are made of plastic, and plastic, so far, lasts forever.
Yes.
It affects everyone.
Wonderful, beautiful. Anybody else have anything to add? Anybody know what a keystone species is? Okay, yeah, go for it. Tell us.
So certain,
You got to speak up, remember?
so like an oak tree, certain species need the oak tree in order for the whole food web and the whole life cycle to happen.
Yes. So like the white-tailed deer is a keystone species in our area. And whatever's happening to that population of deer can signify the health of the entire ecosystem. Okay? So whatever is happening with plastic is also impacting the entire ecosystem of the planet, of our economy, of how we feel, our emotions, how we act, what we do, everything. So that is why plastic is the keystone species. So what are some reasons we like plastic? Yeah, cheap.
You can buy it.
Convenient. Cheap, convenient. What else?
It's recyclable.
It's recyclable. Yeah.
Lots of stores sell it.
Lots of stores sell it, so it's a lot of product.
Lightweight and pretty much non-breakable.
Yes, lightweight, pretty much non-breakable. What else?
Can be formed and shaped into anything, any kind of thing.
Yes, formed and shaped into anything.
It's like a one-time. One time.
40, working actually its way to 50% very quickly, of all plastic is single use, as this lady is saying. Yeah, so it's a part of our art too, right? How many of the artwork out there was made out of acrylic paint? It's a part of our art in our sculpture of our buildings, our furniture, and everything, right? And it's transformed, you know, how we see our world. And so I don't want to demonize plastic. I want to enlighten you guys on single-use plastic and the harms from it, and make you leery of all the other kinds. Okay? So what are some problems? We've mentioned a couple, but what are some problems with plastic?
Like sea turtles, like their favorite food is jellyfish, and then a plastic bag, it looks like a jellyfish, so they use the plastic bag.
Yes, so it impacts our wildlife health.
We're eating it and breathing it.
We're eating it and breathing it.
It's with us from birth now because now there's microplastics in the cord blood of newborn infants.
Yes,
It pretty much nothing decomposes it. So it just gets more and more and more.
okay,
It never goes away.
awesome, yes. So Move Past Plastic likes to attempt to do their advocacy work with not just thinking about this abiotic substrate of, you know, material, but to remember that plastic is a part of all of us in our lives and what we do and everything. And our advocacy work should be filled with understanding stories, case studies of people's experiences around it, and in the art, in the history of it, and everything like that, because that's all important to how we got here today. So I'm going to tell you a little story about me taking a walk 2 miles from my house to go visit a local park that my children I used to take them to. It's called Latort Park. Have any of you ever been there? It was a wooden playground structure that kind of looked castle-esque, and it had all these tunnels and kids could go up and down and in and around, and it was just fantastic. Wood chips on the ground. Love this park. It was big old maple trees overhanging, and you just felt wild and out in nature. And then 100 yards from it was a beautiful Latort Creek, which is a premier pristine trout spring. But on that walk, as you see, I had all this litter. There were over 20 of those Wendy's cups. 20. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I counted them. I quit counting because I was just like, oh my gosh. But when I get to this park, I know that my township, I tried to stop them from putting in what's called a poured in place, or a PIP. It's a rubberized playground. It is one of the many synthetic playing surfaces that are inundating our communities. And so along with artificial turf grass, I don't know if you guys have youth that play on that artificial grass, but you know, they could be tiled. We have rubber mulch that people use in their gardens, all of it. So everything I'm going to be telling you here goes for all of it, because it's all made out of tires, which next to PVC is the most toxic plastic we produce. And we're saying, hey, kids, come play on it. So I had last February's conversation on single-use plastic was on synthetic playing surfaces. Go onto the MPP website. Please look at the recording, and then there's a recording that I had done months prior to that. They're both very different, but very enlightening, and that's going to be one thing that you can do, which we'll get to. But, you know, most communities want this because they're like, oh, we don't want maintenance. It's pretty, and it's ADA accessible. And so they put it in, even though I told them, hey, guys, that polyurethane coating that you're telling me is going to trap those toxins, it's going to wear out and it's not going to take long. I was thinking it was going to take 1 to 2-ish years. 4 months. You see the ring around it? 4 months. That this part was put in September. Like, and so it's going to end up looking like that. And like that, because the municipalities are not going to know and have the money to repair it, because they have to hire someone, not just your regular, you know, maintenance person to come and put more engineered wood fiber down and pack it down, which is ADA accessible, by the way, as the alternative. But they have to hire a guy who comes in, puts on this suit, big respirator and everything, because it's so toxic it could literally kill him on the spot. And then it's got to cure and seal in the chemicals. So I'm pretty devastated that I couldn't stop that. I found out about it a week before they were going to pull the plug to make the purchase. And but these are just a few of the chemicals that are in it that are hazardous chemicals to health, causing all kinds of you know, harmful things. And then notice kids are playing on it. They're getting on their hands and their knees. And there are, if you go back to this picture, you see in the lower left, you see the little kids' socks I found. So they're taking off their shoes and socks, and bare feet are on it. They're eating it. They're eating food. And it's the 7th biggest lead exposure for our youth. But there's I have a whole talk on this, so I'm going to stop. But that's my story. Just because I really am so passionate about this, I've added this to this presentation, because we have got to stop it. And then if we have these fields, don't let them reinstall, which they probably can't, because they're usually millions of dollars, or, you know, at least a half. All right. So just last slide on this, you could see the poured in place pieces that were 30 to 50 feet away from the park, and the little ground up pieces already off of it. Already working their way to that pristine stream where she's standing with that beautiful child. So 460 million tons of plastic are produced every year. Only 9% has ever been recycled. Currently, it's 4 to 6%. The industry is projecting to add another 120 petrochemical factories to produce more plastic, doubling and tripling it by 2050. So as we go through this, I just want you to remember, they intend to double and triple it. And we're already literally swimming in the stuff. Now, why are they doing that? Anybody know? Money, yep. Yeah, they're doing it because we're moving to energy efficiency. We're moving to electric vehicles. And what are they going to do with their extracted product? Oh, they can make plastic out of it and keep their money flowing. So this is what we're used to and what we think about. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's like problematic. That's so much plastic. But I want to put that in perspective for you. what you see on the beach is probably 1% of the plastic that is on the surface of the ocean. 99% of the plastic in the ocean is below surface, all the way down to that Mariner's Trench. So if this looks overwhelming, guess what? All the plastic in the ocean is only 3%. 3% of the plastic. So you're seeing 1% of the 1% of the 3%. Because right, who can conceive of that 460 million tons or whatever, right? Like, but I'm just trying to get this picture of just how bad it is. So plastics don't stay litter. As some of you have mentioned, it breaks down into ever and ever smaller pieces of plastic. A microplastic is the size of an eraser down to a micron. Okay, so both of these are micros. A nano is a less than that micron. All right. And as some of you have already mentioned, it is a part of our water cycle. So those ocean waves are churning over that plastic, and it's breaking it down mechanically and chemically, breaking it, but it's still plastic. Okay, it doesn't break down to nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, pieces that can be made back to living things for up to 1,000 years. And animals are eating on it because the biofilm clings to it, and it resembles eggs, and it resembles jellyfish and things that, you know, animals think are food. And so they starve to death. So you've already addressed where plastic comes from, and it comes from the fracking industry. You guys know what fracking is? You know the process? So you're pumping intense heat and pressure with sand, 10,000 gallons? Oh God, I forget now. I got so many statistics in my head. A lot of water. Like, for those of you who care about water, I want to say, well, we'll go with 10,000 gallons of water and 20,000 proprietary chemicals. Proprietary, meaning we don't know, or they don't want us to know. And they put it down, and then they frack the shell, and then out comes methane gas, which is natural gas, and ethane gas, and a bunch of others. Yes.
But plastic existed before the concept of fracking.
Yes, because these gases were released in normal drilling as well. But now most of the drilling we're doing is fracking, but good point. Yes. So it's a gas, it's ethane. So this is kind of like the stages of plastic. You have your extraction, which is fracking. Then we've got to put in pipelines, which disrupt our forests. They fragment it. You guys know about that, right? And our wetlands, and they leak. They purposely will not use best practices through this whole process. I'm just going to tell you guys that. And they have, yes.
Why will not they purposely not use best practices?
Because it costs money. And it's any violations are usually self-reported unless you just happen to come by one and report it yourself. So I have a bunch of documents of literally hundreds and thousands of violations on a daily basis for this whole process here. So then you got to refine it. Then it goes to that cracker plant. Anybody know what a cracker plant is? So the cracker plant is where they take that ethane, and they have tons of energy is needed. Once again, creating more climate change, more emissions, and then they break apart the molecules and turn it to ethylene. And then ethylene is strung together to make what's called, it's like think of sushi rice. They're called nurdles. That becomes the feedstock for making all plastics, which get put into molds and extruders. Okay, but then, that's how in the distribution section, and then we consume it, and then it goes to disposal, right? So that's brief. I have a whole another presentation on the details of all this, but we're gonna just not ride on it too much. But I do want you to understand that currently plastic, phases, that makes up 10% of greenhouse of carbon emissions. 10. Can you imagine 10%? And once again, if we're doubling it, right, it's gonna be 20 and 30%. And it's the second largest industry when it comes to pollution next to the oil and gas industry. In fact, currently it's equivalent to 189 coal power plants, 500 megawatt coal power plants. So we're working so hard to shut down our coal power plants just to make plastic. That's so great. Okay, so then we go into disposal. So how do we dispose of this plastic when we're done with this 40 going on 50% of single use and other plastics?
Try to recycle it, but some people just throw it in the trash.
Try to recycle it. Yep. Which, like I said, it counts for what percent of plastic gets recycled.
It's like 5 to 6%.
Yep, 5 to 6%. So not very much. And of that, most of it's downcycled. Upcycled is bottle to bottle. Think of that. Okay, that is true recycling. You take a product and it becomes that product. That's the real definition of recycling. Now the industry has veered us away to thinking that going from bottle to your fleece jacket, to carpet, to building materials is recycling. No, that is not recycling. Okay, and if it was, you'll soon learn it's recycling something very, very bad. So currently 85% is going into landfill, 10% is incinerated, and 5% is recycled. So you can kind of, see the proportion of everything there. So, yes.
The lower percentage of these items being recycled, because of participation by people, or is it just because it's people are putting the stuff out, but only 5% is getting recycled?
Oh, such a good question. Okay, so we're gonna answer this question. The industry has long known, an article just came out. You can go onto the MPP Facebook page and find it. They have known since they've begun making it that plastic is not made to be recycled. It is made up of about 20,000 different chemicals. And those recycling symbols, those aren't recycling symbols. Those are resin symbols. But we know resin 1 through 7, right? But there's 400 major resin groups. So how can you recycle something when you pick up anything? How do I know what resin this is? So where would what of the 400 little buckets would I put it in? I mean, we can't even sort 7 different types of resin. No, that's 400 different types of resin, right? You can't do it. It's not possible. Logistically, economically, in so many other ways, it's just not possible. Answer your question? Yes?
When you say 85% of landfill, is that, you're talking just here in America, or does that include the stuff that we actually ship to other countries and say, here?
You're so good. Yeah, I think that's what we consider we do here, but you are spot on. In 2018, China put down what's called the sword policy and quit taking our trash because it was so mixed up with everything, right? So they couldn't possibly recycle any of it. So they were basically just being a trash dump for us. And so since that's happened, there's the next to the drug trade, plastic illicit trade for illegally shipping and all this is the second biggest to the drug trade. It's crazy, yes.
I've read that in some of our economic deals with other countries, specifically countries in Africa,
Yep.
okay, we'll deal with you if you take
Yes.
plastic, which is filling up their rivers. and
Absolutely.
stuff like that.
If we don't have the infrastructure to handle our waste, the most advanced country, do you think an African country where we're putting it now, Vietnam, Indonesia, we were shipping it to Turkey and India. Then they sort of were like, okay, there'll be no. Then we kind of went to the Mexico and the South Central. And then they're like, no. And then now we're migrating to these poor little islands. Get back to.
I don't know if this is a question for later on, but that, there's a facility in York, it's fairly new, I think, CRDC, and they picked all kinds of plastic and
Yeah.
get into resin eight and use in concrete.
Yeah.
My friends and I thought it was a good thing, we take our plastic that waste management doesn't take, and they'll even take styrofoam, we take it down there. Isn't that a good thing that?
Yeah,
They
so,
that
mm,
plastic we can't recycle anything. They-
great question. And there's also another one in, it might be the same place, actually. But anytime, because it's becoming a new fad to take, plastic and turn it into bricks and materials and it's stronger and whatever. Basically that process is extremely toxic. And then you now have a building, which they put, you'll learn here in a minute that plastic, some of the things that it's made up of, this is just showing you the industry, is made up of, it's basically, for all intents and purposes, it's petroleum, so it's very flammable. So you've got to put a fire retardant on it, which we were using PFAS, which is going to get into in a minute, extremely toxic. And so all these chemicals are in this and breaking down to microplastic, because now, it's on a building, right? And what's happening to this building? Sun shining on it, rain, wind. And it's just picking all that up off the building and bringing it into our air, into our waterways.
That terrible fire in Spain, I think it was Valencia, but in Spain recently, one of the reasons that it went so fast was because the cladding on the building was made of,
Vinyl,
yeah, and the whole place.
which then you released a bunch of furans and dioxins and everything, yeah.
So like how you're saying about like the ocean, about everything, don't most small like countries, when they don't have like recycling, landfills, don't they just dump it in the lakes, rivers, or oceans?
It ends up going there because they can't handle it. They can't recycle it. They have no place to bury it. So most of the time it gets burned, which releases all those toxic chemicals, which, it impacts the frontline communities the worst, but it still comes to us.
So the trash to energy plants that you see, it's just they may be producing energy, but it's pouring out, gosh, awful amounts of.
Yes, toxins. Yeah, and it's a false narrative to continue to produce, like, we're gonna get into it in another slide. It's gonna circle back around because I want you to see your visual. But in this picture, 3 years ago, I did a trash audit with my dogs, and all the substances in front of Prairie Dog is plastic that's non-recyclable. The plastics that's behind Prairie Dog are the bottles. That's the only thing that's recyclable, girls. Bottles, resin number 1 and 2, neck smaller than base, clear. That's the only thing that's a commodity. What does that mean? A commodity? It means I can sell it. Someone wants to buy it from me. your municipality, your waste management system, or your MRF, they'll tell your municipal leaders that, yes, we recycle 5, we recycle 7. No, they don't. They do not. It's almost never a commodity. It's just going in the landfill or in that incinerator. They just say that because they've been to make you feel good and to feel like it's okay to keep having all this plastic in your life. It is not recyclable. And then so in the back left, I have an egg carton, some paper with plastic on it. So I don't know if that's really recyclable. Then you have the these are your glass and cans, and that's your plastic that's recyclable.
So it has to be clear too.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
Yeah, I do put my milk cartons in there, but I don't know if that gets
so a
recycled.
lotion bottle, that's no, even though it's smaller, it's no.
Nope. My Pantene, no.
Okay, a number of years ago, I realized like, so this isn't getting recycled. I started putting plastic in my trash, which of course then made my trash
Yeah, and
so much more, but it's, I mean, one way or
That's
the
what-
other.
it's
going
going
to
there.
the-
one way or another, it's going there. But it's cheaper, right? Because you know, in Carlisle, we used to have to pay for trash by the bag, but we could wheel out that recycling bin and we didn't have to pay for it, right? Oh, you were paying for it anyway, but you know, it didn't appear like you were. So even if you know how to recycle properly, you know, a person's tendency, especially if they're on a small budget, you know, that $5.75 for a whole nother bag. Because look at that. Look at how much is not really recyclable, but they could put that in the recycle bin because it's plastic, right? I mean, all right, and it's a big social justice issue, right? For those who are on that frontline community near the fracking and the pipelines and the wells and all that cracker plants, they've got noise pollution, light pollution, air, water pollution. It's just absolutely horrible. And it's also just horrible, like all these farmers and all these people who live in rural communities and they have no well water. It's just really bad, really wretched. And it does immense health harms to all of us. So as you guys already mentioned, it's in our water cycle raining on us, right? And so it's in everything that we eat. And there's been a ton of studies out on that. I hate social media. Don't do it. I hate to post, but since I've done Move Past Plastic, I am doing Facebook. I can't seem to do Instagram and TikTok and all the other ones. Anyone who wants to do that, please come. Gosh, help me with that. Just take what I put on Facebook and put it everywhere else. I will love you like you have no idea. But if you want good things and to find out the latest goings on, that's where I post it, because it's hard for me to post things on my website because it's just, you know, websites are hard and stuff. And there's so many things coming out every day, but I have everything on there, from how can you make personal changes in your life to intense hardcore scientific articles on the endocrine disruptor phthalate and everything in between. So it's a good resource for you. And then I do, you know, good fun things like how to make yogurt and how to, you know, like grow those, you know, pollinator gardens in your yard. So there's all kinds of cool things on there. So I recommend, even if you hate it, just sign up for the Move Past Plastic group so you can get yourself educated. So you can see that you have some microplastics here, and the predominant microplastics are tire crumb and fibers, textile fibers. So I'm just looking around this room, and how many of you are wearing polyester, nylon, and spandex?
Good luck finding stuff that doesn't have plastic in it.
Right. I'm pretty sure this is too. I have to look. It's been a while. Might be kind of cotton. But yeah, it's right. It's the next to impossible, right? So, you know, you get your lint out of your dryer. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. It's going to bring lint from my dryer and then my puppy fur. Starbuck, as you saw, has a lot of fur. And because I do a whole nother thing where I weigh them and everything. kind of cool, darn it. Okay, here's the scale. Here's puppy fur, here's the lid for my dryer. And you know, you've heard that if you eat a credit card a week, well, they said that that's been, 5 grams. They said that's been debunked, but not really, as more studies are coming out that it's probably worse. But I pile up what 5 grams of that lint from my dryer, and let me tell you guys, it's not a small amount, like a big chunk. Because big is light, right? So when you hear so many tons of plastic, you know, and you go and see a pie chart and the amount of tons of plastic is so much less in glass or aluminum or whatever, well, because it's light. The quantity is just so exorbitant, right? So, anyways, that is a macroinvertebrate. That's a small, it might be a plankton in this one, but your macroinvertebrates would be like, say, your stonefly, mayfly, caddisfly in their larval stage, and they're in your watershed, and they eat the organic matter, like the sun's energy gives energy to the leaves, right? And then because how do we get energy in the creek? Then those little, that was a little larva caddisfly and whatever, then it eats it, and then that goes to the little minnow and moves our energy. That's how we get energy in our creek, but that's a whole nother topic. But we do cool things like that. So 30 pounds of chemicals are this is pounds, 30,000 pounds of chemicals are produced for every person in the US per year. We produce so many that we have over 350,000 chemicals worldwide produced. 350,000. And we are still producing one chemical every 1.4 seconds. It's insanity. And guess what for? Pick. What are we producing it for? What are we using the chemicals for? I know you know the answer. Everyone say it once. Plastic, yes. Plastic, to make plastic. I didn't.
HANES stand for.
Oh, gosh. Do not ask me that right now. When I close the notes, it's in my notes under the slide.
Okay.
I don't remember. I have so many acronyms, but the Stockholm Convention has come up with this thing called this concept called planetary boundaries of safety. And what that means is the safe what is safe for operating humanity and ecosystems. That means basically, what can the earth dilute? What can it break down? And you know, just like repurpose, okay? And so all of us, we're like, a little worried about climate, right? We think that's a big deal, right? It's one level removed. So here's good, although the red's going through it, but this is good, this circle here. So it's one level removed. Now, you see these other pies, they're 3, 4, 5 levels removed. They're off the charts. That would be biodiversity. Crashing and burning. That would be, we're using phosphate and nitrate, which, by the way, goes back to the petrochemical industry, because the petrochemical industry is taking the fertilizer, okay, and the pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. If you guys didn't know that, it's all plastic. So that's off the chart. And this thing called novel entities, which I've renamed for you, chemicals and plastic pollution. But if you go to see the chart, you'll see it labeled as novel entities. All that means is man-made chemicals and their products. Off the charts, guys, off the charts. So there are 7,000 chemicals that are deemed to be problematic. I think it was 32,000 of those chemicals are considered hazardous. And then this Nordic Council of Ministers is an older one that is directly like tied to documentation for health impacts. And so you have these chemicals, like I said, about 20,000 of them are making up every plastic in the form of retardants, hardeners, softeners, lubricants. You get your phthalates and biophenols, those stabilizers and all that, and you have these PFAS. How many of you have heard of PFAS? Okay, so I'll be brief when I get there, but it causes all kinds of problems, from asthma and all these things. They've got it documented to, autism and hypertension deficit disorder and everything. There's nothing it doesn't impact, right? And especially because this is the study of just one chemical of those 20,000. This is PFAS. They're per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, and that is a carbon with a fluorine bond, which is the strongest bond you can make. So this chemical class of over 12,000 types of PFAS alone in the class. That's one out of those 20, and in that there's 12,000. So it's nuts. But that chemical is called the forever chemical because it doesn't break down in nature. Just doesn't break down, and it bioaccumulates. So every one of you has it in your blood right now, swimming around. So these are just the human health studies that have been agreed upon by our regulating bodies, but there's a bunch of more problems that it causes that the studies have come out and prove. These are just some of the places you can find PFAS along with those other endocrine disrupting chemicals. So your waterproof makeup, dental floss, fishing line, inks, Sharpie markers, my glasses, my computer screen, your phone screen. It's on everything. When you push plastic through the molders and the extruders, they don't want the machines gunking up. And what do PFAS do? PFAS allow resistance to heat, oil, water, and friction. Great traits, right? I got to admit, those are pretty happening traits. I mean, I got sexy, but so sexy it's put on everything and contaminating us and everything. And it's heavy in packaging. 1 part per trillion. Oh, what the heck is a part per trillion? Okay, here's your idea of a part per trillion. Take a grain of salt, crack it, take a piece of that, throw it in an Olympic-sized swimming pool of water. That much gave you all those litany in that other slide of health problems. Yeah, and it's in your drinking water. It's in mine. I had my municipality test for it a little over a year back. So as someone stated, these toxins the plastics have crossed the blood-brain barrier, causing Alzheimer's and dementia. It's crossed over the placental barrier. So when a baby is born, it already has these chemicals in it, and its brain, liver, kidneys, everything, and its first bowel movement. And it's in breast milk, and it's more in bottle milk. So don't you think you can just switch to that, unfortunately. So there are what's called externalized costs. So these would, if we were to take how much it really costs, because plastic's cheap, right? Go to the dollar store, man. Everything is plastic, right? But it's only cheap because we're subsidizing the fossil fuel in the petrochemical industry. In 2018, 300 of your dollars per year went to the fossil fuel industry. So I have a household of 5, so that was $1,500, right? And so that's just on the front end of just extraction. That doesn't count the whole rest of that chain all the way to the healthcare. So just healthcare alone, that doesn't count recreation destruction, ecosystem destruction, biodiversity destruction, right? So Back before 2009, a single toy had 40% of it was made up of phthalates. And the kids are putting it in their mouths, sucking on them, you know? So basically, recycling is a myth. Key takeaway, it's a myth. Not real, very small amount. Plastic problem isn't a litter problem, although it is, but it's way more than that. It's a what problem?
Major health and economic.
It's a microplastic and a chemical problem. When you think of plastic, I don't want you to think of that litter. I want you to think chemical. What do you think of when you think of plastic from now on? Chemical. And those microplastics absorb chemicals from the environment. And the smaller it gets, the more surface area it has, people. So it absorbs more heavy metals, more herbicides, more pesticides, more pharmaceuticals, more whatever pollutants are in the air. All right, so 9 reasons to not use or to refuse single-use plastic, if at all possible, which is not really, but it's made from fossil fuels, high carbon footprint, takes hundreds and thousands of years to break down, small percents recycled, leaches into whatever you're eating, drinking, and also including in your IVs. Sorry. Yeah, it's a bad with medical. Oh, you get sicker. Stay out of the hospital. Kills marine life. It enters our food chain. Now that I've thoroughly depressed everyone, time for the rally for uplift. Who's ready? Yes, God. Please, we need solutions. Okay, I want to give you solutions. I'm excited about this part. All right, so what are some personal changes that some of you have done or can do? Go ahead.
No plastic bags.
Yes, try not to check out with the plastic bag. Oh, something.
For example, with single-use plastic bottles or gallon bag bottles, I either turn them into something else, like funnels or heat sinks for garden, or I wash them out and use them again.
Okay.
And again and again.
Okay, you're not gonna like this. I don't want you to. No, please don't do it. All those social medias have you making all these aquaponics, hydroponics, garden little gizmos to grow your food and to no. What did we just say? That the plastic is going to leach. There's a study that was done that they put a water in a traditional water bottle. I think it was Gatorade, not sure. So, but a water bottle, and waited 24 hours. They tested it, 300 chemicals. Then they took that water bottle, put it in the wash machine. It's called weathering when it's exposed to heat, detergents, wind, whatever, right? Okay, so the wash machine is going to weather it. One wash, filled it up with water, waited 24 hours, 3,000 chemicals. And we're not even talking about the microplastics that are floating around, which some studies have recently said that when you get a water bottle and you drink it, there could be up to 12,000 microplastic pieces. So yeah, the more you reuse that, the more that's happening. So that wouldn't be a solution.
Hydro flask, my glass water bottle. Yeah, metal. Glass and stainless steel, right?
Glass and stainless steel.
Like what these are.
Yep. So you know what I get? I get kombucha every once in a while on Explorer because it's pricey. I've been trying to make my own and I've been successful some of the times, but I'm just not on top of it enough. Dang it. And it over processes it. It's like apple cider vinegar. I just lost 4 half gallons actually. I just tasted it yesterday because over processed. But anyway, yeah, apparently I can't. But I save those and I use those and they're great drink bottles. I bring them to the gym and everyone's like, oh, a good break. Oh my gosh, you know how many times I dropped it? And even if it did worse than the worst, I'll pick it up and it's just glass, But like, yes, stainless steel glass. I reuse all of my olive jars, pickle jars, because I like the pickle jars for one brand because they're wide. And that's what I put all of my leftovers in.
So, like one of the things that I think about is like there's a saying that's like leave no trace. So like anywhere I go, I make sure that like after I leave, I like left nothing, or make sure like if someone like put in like at school, like people just leave trash out on the playground. So like me and her, we would like go out and we would like pick it up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes. Try to buy natural clothing if you can. It is kind of cost prohibitive, but if you can buy organic, there's some certification, GOTS and OX something, I forget the acronym, but I have all that in some of those flyers and toolkits back there. But just guys, number one, here's another takeaway. So the next takeaway I want you to not feel guilty. You are in a system that you cannot walk into a store. You cannot buy from Amazon. It's next to impossible to not get plastic. Just try your best and keep living your life. My closet's probably 90% full of polyester nylon clothing, but I'm not going to throw it away because that's wasteful. And, me buying more is just going to contribute to greenhouse gases. Now, when it starts to wear down, where I think it's losing more fibers, then and into my watershed, then yes, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it into the trash and in a landfill where it's confined for a little bit anyway. And, so just do the best you can. Take one step. Maybe you learn to make yogurt, which is much easier than kombucha. And you don't buy yogurt in a plastic bin, or if you can't go there, just buy big yogurts. Don't buy individual package, right? So just start small and just add one more thing. Learn one more thing. Yes.
Okay, I've made my own laundry detergent for years, and I reuse plastic bottles and containers. Is that making a bigger problem?
So my rule is, if you're going to reuse plastic, try to have it just be a dry good. Because I still reuse mine. Like I make my own puppies' food, and we buy protein powder in those big containers. And when I make their food, I put it in there and put it in the freezer. But you definitely want to keep anything that's acidic, has oil. You don't want to put it back in plastic, liquids. Don't put that in glass. Put your noodles in the glass. Put your our plastic container if you have it, and reuse, because I do. Like I bought a bunch of those acrylic containers, and I've got beans and lentils and rice. Well, I'm not throwing them away because it's in a drawer. It's not getting weathered. I don't really wash them because, just dry goods. So just find a balance. Okay.
Feel about things that have been designed as alternatives to plastic, like silicone.
Yeah, silicone is a good choice if you need to go with something plastic. Yes, silicone's good. But when you get things that are biodegradable, compostable, that's probably greenwashing, because the same chemicals that go into making those are the same ones as the plastics. Okay. And they usually aren't backyard compostable, which that's what we're thinking they are. We're thinking, hey, I could throw this in my backyard compost pile and it's going to break down in, 6 weeks. No, it's not.
Things that are biodegradable, like explain what you're talking about.
You'll get things in the mail and it might be in a film and it might say the package is compostable, biodegradable. Or you go to a restaurant and they're using a biodegradable plate or a fork. or compostable. If you took it and you brought it to an industrial composter, it might be gonna have those chemicals in it, most likely. Now, there are some good things coming out though. Fungus, oh, they're doing awesome stuff with fungus and seaweed. Got some good packaging with that. So there are some hopeful things out there, guys. It's really exciting. And it's just that they're not up to scale, but they're working on it. There's some good stuff. And guess what? This is just an aside. I'm going to get to your question. There are 400 bacteria and micro or funguses that are breaking down a few types of microplastic. Nature heals all, but you know, that's going to take a bit.
That facility in York, that Sarah DC. My friends and I thought we were doing, I feel pretty proud of ourselves, taking our plastic down that's non-recyclable.
Yeah.
But, you know, it matter to go to the landfill, is one better than?
Yes,
Or
you want it in a landfill.
land-
Here's why. Incinerators, whoosh, here, all chemicals, come play a happy party with you. Landfill, it's in one spot geographically, and it's going to take a while to escape into the environment and into you.
And lots of landfills I've seen have pipes that to release gases, I guess. Are they
Yep.
doing the bad things?
Yeah, yes, but not like an incinerator. It's the least of all evils. This is the best we got, guys. And you have the leachate that comes out of that goes to the wastewater treatment plant and then out into biosludge, which gets spread onto farm fields. And that is going to be the conversation for single-use plastic coming up in April. So I won't go into that. So come to the April one. So we need to flip this triangle upside down. We concentrate on disposing, right? And very little prevention. So we need to rethink, hey, do we need this? No, I don't. Refuse it, reuse it, refill it, regift it, repurpose, repair, and recycle. But we're going to get into, we're in a systemic problem, and a lot of personal things we do can't matter. This is an overview of some of the things Move Past Plastic is doing, and I need to go through this quickly. So legislation, we can write letters to the editor, op-eds, sign-on letters are super easy if you don't have time, and write to your legislator. One of the best bills you can go and look at to tell you what solutions there are for this is the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act. And some of those solutions are to address the pollution, incentivize good design, because if it's designed well, then, like instead of a phone that it acts up and they design it to be obsolete after 2 years, let's design a phone that if something breaks, you can replace the part, right? So, they have like manage our own waste. Let's not ship it to other countries. Let's get rid of single-use items. Let's hold the producers who make this responsible for the waste, not us. Why am I having to pay for it? And they're just inundating me with it. Let's do the test and refill. Someone mentioned bottle bills and that kind of thing, and address social justice, whole bunch of good things. Pennsylvania has the Zero Waste PA. These are current legislations that are in there. They're weak. They're not great. We need to make them better, include a bunch of more stuff. If you're into that, that's something you can go. Eyes on Shell is the beaver cracker plant that I was talking to you about. And it takes 1,000 frac wells to provide the feedstock to run this one cracker plant, which is already putting those nurdles in our Susquehanna River, no less all kinds of other toxins. So you can get involved with this group, Eyes on Shell. So you could also, they're trying to put in, here's the newest, lovely recycling myth that the petrochemical industry is introducing you to, advanced chemical recycling, pyrolysis, and there's about 10 categories of ways of doing that. There's about 11 of these plants that are up. None of them are working except for, I think, what is it, Breakstone, but not really. It's like come to an end. They're billions of dollars, and it's just a diversion tactic to get you to think that this is going to stop the production of virgin plastic when it's not. It takes more energy to run these. So what do they need? You know, they're going to have to pump, you know, frack some more wells. Something else that you can get on is the infrastructure, oh gosh, I'll send my mind. The IRA, the Recovery Act. There we go. Infrastructure Recovery Act. That is replacing lead pipes. Do not let your municipality replace those pipes with PVC or PEX. Make them go do stainless steel or recycled copper. You could go to your municipality for that. We're working on bag bans. You can go to your restaurants and get them to use reusables or bring your own. This is what we're doing for next month's March 5th. You're going to learn about all of these in detail, how to do this in your community. Yes.
Example in Switzerland, I had a wrapped sandwich, no trash can. You were to take it back to the source. They had to deal with it. So they didn't want you to have a whole lot of bulk. So they didn't give it to you. And it was one way to reduce it.
That's awesome. Yes. And so that March 5th at 6 o'clock, Zoom or in person, come to that and you can learn how to do this in your communities. Okay. You can do public outreach such as this, being guest speaker girls, and do presentations, come to watch parties, do petitions, sign on letters. Our sisters, the Susquehanna Climate Reality Chapter, they are, you know, going to their schools with the IRA money, you know, to get electric buses. So I can help you with that. We did this one sign on letter campaign where we wrote Giant and we wrote Walmart and we said, hey guys, here's 7 specific concrete things we want you to do. So, you know, it's detailed things. It's not just like, oh, get rid of plastic. Well, how do you do that, right? But we were like, this is what we want you to do. And so we went to them, and guess what? Not only did the CEO or president of Giant respond to us, the head of sustainability of Ahold Delhaize, which is an umbrella company that has 10 grocery store chains under it, called. Yeah, we had a Zoom meeting, email, and everything. We can make a difference, guys. Okay. So that was, you know, that was this fun campaign with just this small group of people. And we made a difference. And then this was an educational outreach to launch it and to, you know, do the letters. So it's fun, you know. So you can reach out to your municipalities. You guys are talking to your watershed organizations. So we also signed up for an educational outreach where they wanted to highlight, you know, what is a watershed? Why is it important to you? And they had us come and participate, and I organized this paddle and then a speaking on how plastics impact the watershed. We are doing the campaign for PFAS to make sure your local community is testing their water. People that have wells, they're going to need a lot more outreach, right? Because communities now are required to test. That just became effective January of 2024. So your municipalities have to do quarterly testing, but they don't have to comply to decrease your levels until 3 years from now. But you can get on them on that and see what they're doing, make sure they're doing the right things. And like I said, reach out, join, you know, reach out to your Parks and Rec director, your school superintendent, your municipality, and say, hey, don't do this. I have a whole toolkit. You guys don't have to make up anything. I've got a letter. You just readdress it to your person who you're writing to. You just put their name on it and give it to them. You don't have to do anything, guys. I've got everything you need in that toolkit. All the information, I have the recordings, everything is there for you. We're trying to make this easy so you can just, in your busy schedules, just take action, okay? We go to the Harrisburg. I just became the chair to the Climate Reality Susquehanna, sorry, not Susquehanna. I was part of that one. I still am because I can't leave it because they're cool girls there. But I just became the chair for the South Central PA Climate Reality branch. But I told them I'm only going to become chair if I don't have to go to a whole nother separate meeting and organize it. So I'm mushing them into MPP. And then you guys, you can do that too. Mush in with me. Why do we have to be fragmented? We don't. Let's all work together. I mean, there's tons of stuff here. Pick something you like. Do one thing. Doesn't matter. So, but anyways, they want us to go because we're close, proximity, like compared to the rest of the state. So, they want us to work on getting to the Capitol and speaking to our legislators and stuff. So if that interests you, it's good fun. Climate convergence, we help with that. I pulled together in less than 2 months. It was gonna be an awesome fashion show. I got a musician to make an original plastic song. And then I had a DJ from New York who was going to come and he's going to MC it and have music that he played. And it was regular people going to be wearing reuse clothing and we were going to be sporting it. And, we got to make things fun. This is so depressing. This is where I'm saying, let's bring in art. Let's bring in fun. Let's socialize when we do things. Let's have some fun. But anyways, the person who was helping me, she was out of town. I got sick 5 days before the event. So it didn't get pulled off. So sad. But I've got all the stuff started. If anyone wants to work on that, talk about fun, right? It'd be so much fun. But in case you don't know what fast fashion is, it's cheap, trendy, and disposable. Okay. So the other thing that we're working on is I'm doing a data review of all the abiotic and biotic, that means chemicals and like fish, deer, chemicals in them. All the chemicals data that we know about and collecting it, going to try and map it. This is going to be our model that we can then take and then move it to other watersheds. So other watersheds can analyze it. And then what we're going to do is after we get all that information, we can say, okay, here's where some holes are in our data. We need to further test and monitor, or here's where some toxicity is, and we need to remediate. So like PFAS, like your poor municipality, they're going to have to pay so much money to remove PFAS from their drinking water. Well, why not figure out where the source is coming from and tap that out? I have all the maps for that, guys. I have everything. I have a whole PFAS toolkit. You want to know anything you want to know? I got it. You don't have to go looking for it. I got it all. So you can come and help create tabling events, have some fun building and making things. So we were making, the energy, from the sun all the way down to our macroinvertebrates and making macroinvertebrate necklaces. Oh, for Girl Scouts. Okay, so last slide here, pretty much. This is an upcoming tabling event. If you want to help table girls, if you want to help table at this event and just teach people about plastics, this is happening. I need help because I do have a lot of stations. It'll be fun to because it's working with the high school. And we have some other tabling events. We have oh gosh, is it March 2nd? There's the Poor People's Campaign at the Capitol. And then March 17th, they're doing another climate thing. So those are coming up. So yeah, and then there's the Earth Day. I don't know if I have capacity to do this, but I'd like to. You girls are doing this, and I hear you guys were talking about it in your, what was it called? Kiss Hershey back. But basically I'd want to do a trash audit. So you go to parks, different groups go to different parks. Then I want to bring us all back to one park and have a party, have music, have food, it'd be fun, right?
We're aware of the garbage museum in Annabelle.
Not in Anvil, I'm not.
He's collected everything from the street in his backyard. Now they've moved, but it's in another place and there's a garden, it's a museum.
Wow. Oh, man, we collect such cool stuff. We collected this one thing. They still don't know what it is from the Conneaut Creek cleanup. And it looked like, I don't know, some airplane thing. I don't even know what it was. Oh, but they got to hook up with him. But anyway, so I think that's about it. So I'm going to end this last note. We've already talked about it. We are doing this series of conversations on single-use plastic, guys. You can come in person to Carlisle, which would make me not be lonely because sometimes I'm by myself here lately, like, you know, when COVID hit and stuff. And yeah, I'm like, people just come back to me. I'm all alone in this room. Like, I got a lot of people on Zoom, but nobody's coming back to me in person. And, you know, yeah, so there's that. And so look that up. Like I said, everything we make, this isn't what I said. I don't know who said this, but I got it off of the Slow Factory. Everything we make returns to the earth as food or poison. So make good things, guys. But I hope you see we have solutions. We need to make systemic change. We need to stop the petrochemical build out. We need to get our getting alternative delivery models. Why the heck? You know, Amazon's coming to my house every day, or some mail somebody is. They could come and put something down and take something away, you know, that bottle or that whatever. Like, we have ways of doing it. They have this all planned out, and they've been doing this over 100 years ago. It's just that, you know, the petrochemical industry is holding on to consumption economy, but there are other economies, regenerative economies. I have the thriving something economy. It's in here, but anyway, avoid those false solutions, guys. Watch out for greenwashing, and talk to me if you have any questions, and sign up.
How does Pennsylvania fare out in the United States? Are we?
What do you mean?
We're trashing. Are we trashing?
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. We take 5 states trash. We export more energy and take more people's trash. We are the worst state who has the, you know, the article, whatever, 27. I think that's it. Article. Yeah.
What's Article 27?
It's the one that says everyone has a right to healthy water, air, and to pass it on for generations. Yeah. It was Article 27.
27.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm willing to stay for any other questions you might have, details. I know it's a lot,
Thank you very
but.
much.
Bye, girls. Reach out. Did you get my card to reach out to me? Okay, okay. Okay, I can stop recording. No, don't do Brita water filters. It will get rid of some things, but not your PFAS.